Well, my cables for the front should come in tomorrow, but I got some bike sheath cable that I'm going to use to protect the lines, because there is some sort of protective liner that's supposed to go over those heater cable lines. And the stuff that they sell at Volkswagen is prohibitively expensive, and this stuff is like $5 on Amazon, and it does the exact same thing. So I'm going to use that. The heater cables on the rear are all hooked up loosely. I just haven't gotten around to actually doing it all the way, because there's, I don't want to put that pivot in until both of the lines are, are at least in there, and then I'll do the fine tuning once that pivot is bolted back up with both of the front and the rear heater lines hooked up to it. And then I'll measure and cut and do all this other shit. I went under the car and made sure that the actual that existing lever, the one that opens up the heater channels, and it does work. Heat exchanger, I mean, not heater channels. Maybe it does open up the heater channels, technically. But yeah, that actually works. I may have to go underneath there and adjust them, because they do open and close, but not by a whole lot. So maybe there's some adjustment that has to be done at the heater channels themselves when, whenever I get underneath the car again. So that's that. That should be all squared away tomorrow. And then what's left? Well, as you can see, I am starting to clean up the floor, because this stuff came in. Sound deadener from Noiko. The instruction. Please read the instruction carefully up to the end. Will do, buddy. So this stuff is from Amazon. It's like the best rated stuff on there. This is 36 square feet. Cost me around $40, which is damn cheap compared to the other stuff. So I have high hopes for you. 36 square feet probably won't be enough to do the entire car, but at least it's Amazon Prime, so if I need more of it, I can just order some and it'll be here in 2 days, no big deal. So plans for the sound deadener. Obviously all of the rear is going to be done, all of that, and I got something special lined up for the engine cover. But yeah, all that's gonna, full coverage on the rear, full coverage on this area. I don't know, around the battery box, I might leave that there. I don't know what I'm gonna do with that. Obviously full coverage on the floor pans and the transmission tunnel, but that tunnel right there. And then, yeah, up to the coverage point of the carpets on the front firewall, if you can even call it a firewall, maybe. Bulkhead is the better term to use. And I can tell, because of the old glue that's on there, I can tell, where that ends. So I basically just cover up on there. And then as far as the hood, or the roof, I don't know. I've been told that this stuff is good enough that it should be able to work hanging upside down. If I just use a heat gun and make sure that the roof area that I'm applying it to is super duper clean, I shouldn't have an issue. But apparently this stuff hangs on the hood on the roof pretty well. So yeah, hope it does. Hope it lives up to the hype. And then beyond that, that should take a couple days to get done, right? But aside from that, the other thing I've ordered is door seal kit. Finally got this all ordered up from ISP West. It's their kit that apparently is about as good as it gets without going full German. It's somewhere in the middle of German and Brazilian, so that's kind of where I want to be. And I still haven't aligned the doors yet, but that doesn't really matter. I can still rebuild the doors without aligning them. Because frankly, yesterday I didn't have anything to do to this thing, and it made me nervous. So I need to keep occupied on it. So door seal kit for both of the doors. That'll keep me definitely occupied for a couple days. I'm trying to source pop-out windows for here before I put the headliner in. I want to get the pop-out windows put in because there's some drilling that I'm going to have to do here to fit the pivot for the pop-out windows. So I want to be able to do that before I get the headliner installed, because the headliner's like not just the headliner, it goes all the way down in here to cover the posts as well. And that's coming, but I don't really know because I'm still trying to figure out exactly which color I want to go in the interior. I don't want black, because black's what it had, and sure enough, black does look good on this color, and it is the factory color combination of having, you know, this marina blue and a black interior, and it does look good. It's definitely a nice combination, but you know, I want to go light. I want a light color on this thing, you know. I'm thinking the off-white for the headliner and the posts, maybe off-white for the door cards themselves, and you know, all the panels that cover the side of this and like the rear hatch and such, maybe off-white for all them. Charcoal carpet, which is like a grayish carpet, and then the seats probably I'll do off-white on the top of it, and then gray on the bottom, and like the piping gray. So I think that'll look pretty nice and clean, and very bright and happy. So I think I'll go that route. But that's the plan. Today I'm just gonna clean out this interior. Gonna get it with some, you know, some soapy water, clean that off, alcohol, clean that off, like get it as clean as I possibly can, and then start applying that sound deadener. And that'll keep me occupied for a couple days, I think. Okay, one box of this stuff doesn't do an entire car, but it does most of it. So here's what I've done thus far. So I used 2 sheets on the engine lid for 2 reasons. One, it's the part of the car that makes the most noise, and 2, this should do a good enough job of insulating for some heat. I know this stuff is rated about 400 degrees. I don't think the engine bay is going to get much hotter than that, so I think this stuff will be fine. And also, frankly, on Samba, guys use fat mat on here, and this stuff is like basically the same shit as fat mat, so I have no issue with that. But yeah, 2 sheets excuse me, 2 sheets on this. Yeah, hopefully it makes a difference, because it used to be all tinny and now it's nice now. Rear of the car, only 1 sheet thus far. I actually went and ordered another box of that stuff because I still have to do the roof and the behind the seats area. But yeah, just 1 thus far. If I have any extra, I'm going to put some more on here. You might also note that it's a bit of a patchwork, and that's for a good reason. Upon doing my research on this stuff, I realized that, and also I've never done any sound deadening stuff before, ever. So I actually have no idea how all this stuff is actually supposed to work. But when you look it up online, you just see guys like having their entire inside of their car just covered in this shit. And what I've realized through research is that there's a point of diminishing returns over about 50% coverage, where if you go from 50% coverage to 100% coverage, that doesn't mean you double the amount of sound deadening. There's a point of diminishing returns. So a lot of people, when talking about this stuff, when you just want to do basic, like, all right, let's try and stop the rumbles and rattlings from happening, like 25 to 50% is all you need. So I'm not going to do full coverage because, frankly, it's a waste of money. If you want to actually, if I wanted to actually like go and like reduce as much of the road noise as possible, I'd put foam over this, but being that I'm putting carpet over it, you know, it should do pretty good. So what's left to do is the behind the seat area here, I want to get that done because, you know, that's attached to the engine. So anything that the engine is kind of near, I want to obviously do that. And if I have extra, I want to double up on it too. And then, you know, I haven't done the roof yet either. So one more box of this stuff, 36 more square feet, will be more than enough for me to do all the coverage I want. And then I think I'm going to double up on the area here for the, you know, the rear luggage compartment, and then also the rear of the seats here. I want to double up on those two, just because that's going to be where the majority of the noise is going to be coming from, like the wheel wells and, you know, the floor. Like, all it really needs is one piece of treatment. I really don't care to do any more than that. Oh yeah, and I'm going to do the transmission tunnel as well. But this stuff is super easy to work with. It cuts with just a, industrial knife. It's easy to put down, but I will say this: the what do you call it? The roller that comes with this is useless. I actually ended up taking the roller off and flipping it upside down and just using the handle of it to press down to get all those diamond patterns down. And actually, now looking at this side, this one needs to be pressed down a little bit more. But it's not like the floorboards are going to come off. But no, this stuff's easy to work with. It stinks when you first put it on, but then I come back to it a day later and it's completely fine. The smell goes away. I just hope that I can hang it vertically on the roof. I'm going to heat up the roof before I put it on there, just to try and do the best I can to make sure that it doesn't fall off. And oh yeah, also I have to do the sunroof as well. So yeah, I think another box of this stuff will be perfectly fine. And that's it. I'm basically just waiting for that, the door seals, or the complete door repair kit, I should say. All the seals on the doors, like the vent windows and everything. And then I still have to order the headliner. I think I'm going to do that. I have to call up ISP West, because I am going to go with off-white for the headliner, but I don't want to use the perforated vinyl. I want to use, I think, mohair or something like that. Just because I think it looks much, much better than the perforated vinyl. So I got to call them to put that order in. So I think I'm going to go do that. Well, we hit a bit of a snag with the heater cables. The front one is, that one over there, the passenger side is good. That got in to the front channel here. So this one's just fine. Pops right through the other end. Come on, buddy. This is so tough. Well, trust me, it's in there. But it doesn't matter, because I snapped off the other end of this one, trying to work it through the driver's side channel. And the crazy thing about this driver's side channel is the fact that, like, it really seems like there's something in there that's blocking it. Because I'm trying, I got some welding wire here, and I'm trying, and it's much, much smaller than the heater control cable. I'm trying to feed it through that way, and it's still, like, even an itty bitty little welding wire won't make it all the way around. So I've been spraying PB in here and hitting it with a little bit of compressed air to move it hopefully through the system. So I'll order another one of these and sit overnight, and maybe, and you know, while I'm waiting for this to come back in, I'll just keep, you know, trying to clean it out with the welding wire, and hopefully that'll get me somewhere. But the Super Beetle stuff, it does work. Well, I think the sound deadening's about as done as it's going to get, frankly. I didn't double up on anything. Everything's just one. Did the ceiling just in pieces, but you know, it doesn't need full coverage. Just needs a little bit, enough to help out. The felt and all that stuff in there, that's going to do a lot more for dampening road noise than that sort of stuff. That just sort of helps out with vibrations. So I did both the doors. Tunnels are done, all the floors are done. I didn't do much back there because frankly I don't think it's going to really matter too much. But I did it a little bit in there just to break it up slightly. But yeah, I think that's as good as I'm going to do for sound deadening. So, one full box, and then I got these pieces left over. I got basically 2.5 sheets left over. And I'm going to use the one of the sheets for the sunroof panel whenever I get around to doing that. And then I just got these extras just in case I feel like I need them for something. But this is done enough for me. I'm not trying to make this thing whisper quiet. It never could be. I just wanted it to be a little bit better than, you know, where it was before. So I think I've achieved that. Let's take a look at the underside of this guy. I'm not going to do the top of this. I think it's somewhat redundant considering that, you know, can't hear a damn thing with that. Oops, it's not in there. It's definitely a lot heavier now, but that will do just fine. Just fine. I think as long as this guy is really, like it used to sound like, now it's, I think this will do the absolute most as far as blocking out noise. If I need to do something more on top of that, I will, but I think the carpet on top of this will be, I don't know, maybe I'll do a cardboard. I doubt it. I think I'll just put carpet on there. Why make more work for myself? And then I got this package in the mail. Door kit. Putting the doors back together. Now I got my scrapers, panels, or not panels, lining, full thing, all the seals, quarter window seals, all that jazz. It's got everything in there. But I think what I need to do is find out where the hell I can get some clips. The clips that hold the felt channels in place, like right there. I think I need to get some of those. Because I don't think I saved enough of them to hold the felt channels in place correctly. Or scrapers, or whatever the hell they're called. We'll see about that. But yeah, I mean the roof, a lot more thuddy. Versus, used to be like that, now it's much better. Okay, done. Well, we got ourselves yet another problem with the floor heating. So all the stuff back here works correctly now. It's linked up. So now the rear seals correctly and opens and does all that stuff. And I got it hooked up and, you know, cinched in place. And it's important. Let me show you this. It's important that if you do this, you gotta follow these channels that are in here, these little clips that you push in. You gotta have those, otherwise this thing flops all over the place and it doesn't apply the correct tension to open and close the flaps all the way. So the rears are done, and that's good, but we have a bit of an issue with the front floor heater controls here. Now I got this one in, which is pretty good. As you can see, it opens and close, open, close, open, close, open, close. But the other one didn't make it so great. So this little plastic pivot thing that this rests on is completely broken. Now the one part of it, the circle part that slides over there, I JB welded it back in place, and it's holding just fine. No issue there. But the other side isn't a hole, it's a clip, like that. And basically, if you put it in there, because I've tried already to put it in there, you put it in there, it moves back and forth, but then it works itself off of this little clip here, and then just kind of flops around in there. So I need to figure out a way to put this on that, and it stinks because I'm not quite sure how to do that. Now, what I'm thinking for this guy, because first of all, I can't find this part. I checked the Samba, doesn't exist. Like, they have controls for early model Type 3s. Maybe I should check Beetle stuff. Maybe I should, because like the majority of the stuff that I'm finding on this car that's a little bit hard for me to find, I'm finding on Type 34s and like Super Beetles. So actually, let me check if this exists on a Super Beetle. Yep, doesn't exist. Can't find the part. So the only other thing that I think I can do here is this side of it, where it loops in there. That's fine. That JB weld ain't going nowhere. But this part, I don't know. What I'm thinking is I need to have something that holds it in place but allows it to pivot. So obviously gluing shit together like that just, isn't going to work. What I was thinking was cut a slot in there and loop in a actually, yeah. If I just cut a slot in there and then zip tie, that'll basically do the same thing. It'll allow it to pivot. I was thinking initially, yeah, do a hose clamp, but I'm like, that's like, yeah, it's removable, but so's a zip tie with one of these. So that's the only way I can think about making this work properly, and given the fact that I can't freaking find any of these things, is just to Dremel a slot in there, zip tie, get it loose enough that it can pivot around, and hopefully allow it to push down enough, maybe do it within this channel right here, and get something that'll push down enough so that it'll actually like hold in there. But the thing is that these guys, they don't sit in here super flush. Like, you can see it moving around a little there. Like, when I got these, when those were in the car initially, they were just glued in place from the floor carpet. It was just kind of glued in place. So I'm gonna have to seal that in a little bit, because I assume that's how it's supposed to be. I don't think I'm missing anything. Like, it looks like there might have been at one point some sort of extra sealing material on here, but I can't find any damn pictures of this thing to know one way or the other how it's supposed to be. So yeah, I have no fucking idea, man. So what I'm gonna do, put a hole in there, zip tie it, and hope for the best. So as far as felting and doing all the pillars goes, I mean, I got the felt on there. It's good enough, I suppose. I don't know how beefy it needs to be. I'm just trying to line it up with the felting that was still on the car and was salvageable. Like, I have a little bit of it on there, and like towards the back, those somehow stuck it out. And then the felting on the pillars, which admittedly is pretty like skinny. I don't know if that's exactly how it's supposed to be, but I mean, both pillars are super skinny, so I guess they really didn't pad the pillars that much, so I'm not gonna either. If they didn't, I didn't. So I'm trying to match the thickness to the stuff that I'm putting on here with the stuff that already exists, and just hoping to get it uniform. not trying to get it any more plush than it already was. And I'm putting in screws on all the little spots that need them. Like those are for the visors. I need to do the ones for the seat belt, for the grab handles. And I don't know of a way to do it for the rear view mirror that goes right there. I don't know how to do that because there's no screws that hold that in place. It's like this weird 2-bar pinch system, kind of weird. But yeah, I'm gonna do that. So let's talk about the headliner a little bit more. So it's a full kit, right? I mean, here's the actual headliner itself. That'll do me to about like there on the car, but then there's still all the posts, the post material that needs to be done all the way around, and that's where this stuff comes in, I assume. Actually, I don't assume. This is the only thing that this could be, is this vinyl, off-white vinyl post material that I'm going to do all the posts in, like all the pillars, do all those in this stuff. Now, this sort of stinks because I thought that they were like based upon what I was seeing from like JBugs and like other sort of things, like other sort of pictures of the kit. I thought that these were pre-cut, but instead they just gave me a big old flap, and I have to cut the bits out myself, which isn't a big deal. I just need to make sure the line where the headliner stops and this begins is the same, and also like where to make that distinction. Like I'm assuming, like, you know, I kind of know, I have an idea of where it's going to go, and then, you know, folding it over so that it's kind of a nice little line there to do the break between the two. It's going to be a little bit harder. Like, I understand that doing the actual headliner itself really isn't that difficult. It just takes a bunch of clips and time and patience, making sure you work out all the wrinkles and everything. That really doesn't seem like that big a deal to me. This post thing seems like the bigger deal to me because, like, I got to get it right. Like, really. There's no other way of doing it. Like, especially like the bottom material, like the bottom part of the windowsill, like where the, you know, right where I'm pointing, that part. Like, it's going to be hard to sort of tuck that in because I'm not tucking it in anywhere. Like, there's nowhere to tuck it underneath. You know, like with doing the headliner, it's easy. You just pinch the corners there and it holds in place. It's actually, you know, not that difficult. There's stuff to pinch to. But the bottom there, there's nothing to pinch to. You just kind of got to tighten and glue and then hold it. And then just, I guess, wait for it to do its thing. And that can be very difficult because that whole rear piece has to be one single thing. And that one single thing has to be done out of this single thing. And I would like to think that, like, this from here up is enough material to do that one bit of post material. But I don't think that that is long enough, actually. Oh, fuck, I don't have my tape measure on me. I can't tell. Let me actually just do this. Just ballpark it with some extra felt. So yeah, that's about it. So that's the total size of the material. And actually, that might be enough. Huh. Okay. So yeah, the material's a little bit longer than this thing. I'm doing this by the felt rule. And it's basically going to be, the post material is going to go from like there, because that's all going to be headliner up there, down to here. And the post material from here only really needs to go that bit right there. So actually, I'll probably be able to just cut this in half and just do the whole like one end that side, one end that side, and just cut the windowsills out. That could work. And then I just hope I have enough left over for these pillars, because I don't think that, because there's definitely not enough headliner material to do these front posts. Rear posts, okay, I can kind of use this, I guess, but yeah, the front posts, I don't know. There's another piece that came with this that I'm sort of confused on, which I assume is the... I assume this is the sunroof panel. It's about the right size, but what I don't get are these two things on the sunroof panel. Why does it have a stitch going through the center of it? And why does it have this little loop on there, like I'm supposed to stick something through there, like a bar, like, you know, like a bar or something? I don't know what this is for. This is, I don't know. I don't know what this is for. The stitch in the middle is weird. This little bit, I don't understand. But, I mean, this doesn't have a cutout for it for the sunroof. I have to cut that out. I assume that they were going to include a panel to do the sunroof just by itself. But I don't understand this stitching in the center.